Let's take a look at receiving and deserializing an Avro message with the Solace JCSMP SDK. Previously, we looked at serializing data into Avro payloads with the Solace JCSMP serializer. That's only half of the equation. We still need to deserialize the message on the other side so that our applications can process the content. If you have not checked out the Solace Schema Registry deployment on Docker or Serialize with JCSMP videos yet, you'll want to take a look at those first. You can find the content for the deserializer samples in the same location as the serializer, Solace samples/Solace samples Java JCSMP. Inside of that repository, we're going to see the Avro deserialized consumer.java. The setup inside of this file will look very similar to what you saw inside of the serializer. We will set up the connection to our schema registry. We will specify the topic that we're going to subscribe to. In this case, the Solace samples Avro topic. Keep that in mind. We'll reference back to that in a second. We'll also set up a connection to our broker. This is running locally in Docker as well. We will initialize a deserializer for Avro, create a connection to our Solace broker, set up a consumer, and add the subscription to our topic specified above. Whenever any messages come in on that topic, we will receive them and we will deserialize them using our deserializer that we set up earlier and print out what messages were received. We can go ahead and start this deserializer by running it and pointing it to our local broker. This will sit here and wait until we start publishing messages. I think it's important to also look at the other components that we have set up here. So the schema registry is set up and running. We did this in the previous video, and we have created an artifact with the ID of Solace/samples/Avro. This contains only a single version, but it contains the payload or the schema for the payloads that we're after in this video. We also have our broker running. We have the Try Me tab open and subscribe to the greater than wildcard. So all messages that come across the Solace broker will show up here. If I start the publishing of messages in another window here, using the Avro serialized producer that we set up in the previous video, we will start to see messages flow across the broker. I can go ahead and stop this publisher after 30 messages have been published. We started with a message 0. You can see the broker receives these messages serialized from the publisher. In this case, it's still somewhat readable, but this could look like junk depending on what sort of information you're serializing into these payloads. But we don't really know what any of this information is. If I was a computer, I'd have to parse based on, spaces or the number of bytes that I expected each field to be or something like that, and it wouldn't be very effective. This is where the deserializer comes in. We started it before we changed away from this IntelliJ window, and here we've been receiving the messages that we also saw flowing across the Solace broker. The difference here is that we deserialize them using the schema for that Solace/samples/Avro schema from the schema registry. And here you can see, after the deserialize, these are much more usable objects for our program. We have an ID field for the number 29, name John Doe, and email support@solace.com. So now our application can go ahead and actually use the objects that we received in the event from the broker to perform some set of actions. It may not have known exactly what it was going to receive inside of those payloads, but because of the schema registry, it knows what format the data is being received in and now can handle it appropriately. We also have minimized the amount of data that we're pushing across the broker itself in the payload because we didn't have to include things like the name field and email. For more information about the Solace Schema Registry and how to use the serializers and deserializers, you can go ahead and check out our documentation. If you run into any issues or have any questions, feel free to post in the Solace community forum and we can help point you in the right direction or answer any questions that you have.